by Paxton. Thank you for sending your story. I hope you see this and enjoy. So story time. Me and my friend were having a sleepover, let's just call her Addie. So me and Addie were eating, and I put blueberry juice on my face. I then said let's go on Omegle and play around. So we went on Omegle for a while, and after that I washed off the blueberry juice and did make-up like a clown on my face. After I washed it off, but also keep in mind that me and Addie were in 4th grade at the time. The rest of the night we talked with people, and played Roblox with and yay. I was playing Roblox when we found this one guy, he looked about 20, I said skip. We then skipped and then I began to talk Addie for a while and then went to go lock the door cause it was like 12 at night. During the conversation before we had skipped him, he asked us if we had school and we said no. He asked what time it was, we said about 12. When we started to leave he then said I know where you live, and then he sent a text that said where we lived. We ran to lock every door in the house, and then ran up to tell my parents who were asleep. We slept up in their room that night. The next day there was a knock on the door, it was that same man from the website. We locked all the doors and said go away. I got my mom, then the man held a gun up. We called my dad down and said come down here with a gun. He came down with a gun. The man ran away and the cops showed up later that day to search the home and there was nothing. Till this day I'm still scared if the man will come back.
Story time about how I got my ex-boyfriend back for cheating on me. So a lot of background information. My ex and I were together for almost 2 years, and throughout our whole entire relationship he had been cheating on me. I'm not surprised though. But what I am surprised about is that he was cheating on me with my best friend. Well, my ex-best friend now. Before my ex and I got together, my best friend had a crush on him for like a week, right? And then she got a boyfriend. And I had asked her, is it okay if I get with him? Like, him and I have been talking, he said that he really likes me. And she said, yeah, of course, that's perfectly fine. I don't care. I don't like him anymore. So I was like, okay, we're all good to go. So a month later, him and I start dating. Well, I found out that he was cheating on me when I went through his phone and saw all these nude pictures of my best friends and videos of them doing the nasty. So I decided I had to get him back. And my best friend, of course. My best friend was still with her boyfriend. But her boyfriend was my ex-boyfriend's best friend. Part 2 about how I got my ex-boyfriend back for cheating on me. So I'm just gonna throw this in here real quick. I'm pretty sure the only reason why my best friend did all that stuff with my ex was because she was pissed off at me for actually dating him. Because from what I had heard through other people who knew that she was doing that with my boyfriend, they said that she didn't talk to him or anything anymore. And that she really actually loved her boyfriend that she was with. Little TMI. Throughout my boyfriend and I's whole relationship, he would beg me to be open-minded while being intimate. And he would want to do things that I really just did not want to do. And there was a long list of things that he wanted me to do. So a week later, I told her boyfriend, but I told her boyfriend not to tell her because of my plan. And that whole week, my boyfriend was apologizing to me, saying he was so sorry and that he wants me back, blah, 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 blah. And my best friend thought that her boyfriend was loyal as not anymore. So I told him about my plan, which was to do everything that my boyfriend begged me to do during our whole relationship with him. And for him, it would just be enough to send it to her because she thought he was loyal. Part 3 about how I got my ex-boyfriend back for cheating on me. So like I said, I told her boyfriend my plan and everything like that, and he was on board right away. So he came over to my house, we did all that good. Oh, and I forgot to tell you guys. My ex-best friend had begged me not to tell her boyfriend. She was like, you don't get it, like I really love him, like I really don't want to lose him. And I told her that I wouldn't tell him. But I don't really know what her boyfriend did. All I know is that I sent the video to my boyfriend. Oh, and also my boyfriend begged me not to tell her boyfriend because they were best friends. But I did it anyways, and like I said, I sent it to him, and I sent him a long paragraph. And then he sent me, oh, how could you do this to me, blah, blah, blah. You just ruined everything for me. Things will never be the same between us. And I was like, yeah, okay, good. I don't care. You were a piece of garbage anyways. But however, my ex-best friend, she took her boyfriend back, and now their relationship is toxic as f***, and he cheats on her all the time. And they've been together now for like 3 years. Karma is a
Story time on how my parents sold me to my uncle. Okay, so boom, let's get straight into it. Ever since I was a kid, everyone would compliment me on how beautiful I was. Literally got complimented everywhere me and my family went. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, it's important. My parents didn't see me as their beautiful child. My parents seen me as dollar signs. I was literally up for sale and my parents were bidding on who would pay the most to marry me. My mom started teaching me how to cook and clean and how to keep a man happy. One day while my mom was getting me ready and all dolled up for dinner, I told my mom I didn't want to marry anyone, and she flat out told me I didn't have a choice. Well, little did I know that exact night my mom and I was having this conversation, my uncle was downstairs waiting on me. Part 2 on how my parents sold me to my uncle. Okay, so boom, like I said, my mom was getting me all dolled up for dinner and my uncle was downstairs waiting on me. I didn't know this at the time, of course. My mom and I go downstairs and I hear my dad say, "There she is. Isn't she beautiful?" Then I looked at a man who just smiled and said, "I like it." I asked my mom who was that guy and she told me, "Shh, that's your father's brother, sweetie, no more talking." So we all sat down and had dinner and my uncle was just staring at me, smiling at me and looking at me up and down. He was literally studying me. My dad even looked at him for validation. I was so confused. A little did I know this wasn't just a dinner. It was a tryout, an audition, if you will. If I would be good enough for my uncle. He was actually rich and looking for a wife and my dad was trying to sell me to him. Part 3 on how my parents sold me to my uncle. So like I said, we were having dinner and my dad was trying to sell me to my rich uncle. He was literally pitching a sale. She's beautiful, she cooks, she cleans, and she's very smart. And oh, she still has her V card. It was at that moment it hit me. I figured out what was going on. When my uncle left, my parents told me good job for being a good girl. I cried and told my parents I did not want to marry that man. I was 15 and he was like 40, but my parents told me I was going to marry him and I was going to like it. Well, fast forward a year later and they definitely sold me. And I lost my V card to my uncle on our wedding night. I hated it at first, but I kind of fell in love with him. And it didn't hurt that he was rich and I kind of lived stress-free. So yeah, my parents sold me and that sucks, but I ended up being okay with it. Lucky. And we all laugh about it now. Yeah, I know it's toxic and corrupt, but this is why it's an anonymous story.
So a while back, I had a crush on the quiet kid. He was the kid that always sat in the back of the class and didn't really talk. Well, I ended up having a class with him and I sat next to him and we ended up talking and getting really close. And I ended up getting a crush on this man. So one day I asked him if he wanted to come over to my house. And he said yes! And he was the first boy to ever come over to my house, so I was a little scared. But anyways, he comes over and we decide to go on a walk. And this is where I saw my first red flag. So we're on this walk and I end up tripping and ripping my knee open. And there's like blood dripping down my knee. This man gets his finger, wipes it across the blood, licks it, and looks at me dead in the eyes and goes, I love how blood tastes. I looked at him and I was like, haha, yeah, I thought he was like joking. So I kind of pushed that to the side and we ended up going back to my house after the walk. And at this point, it was like pitch black outside and we go into my kitchen to make some food. This is where it gets extremely terrifying. So I had gotten a crush on the quiet kid at school and I invited him over. And things started to get weird when I cut my knee open and he licked the blood off my knee and said that it tasted good. So anyways, we're in our kitchen and we're just making food. And he's petting my dog, telling me how much he loves my dog. And I turn around for 2 seconds. And I wish to God I can make this up. I turn around and he has a knife to my dog's neck. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing? And he's like, oh, I'm just joking with you, ha 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 ha. So I grabbed the knife from him and I put it back where it belongs and I'm like, okay, let's go out on my trampoline. Reminder, at this point, it was pitch black outside. So we're jumping on my trampoline when I feel something hit me in the face. So I look at him and then he starts beating me up. And I'm not talking play fighting. This kid is genuinely beating me up. So I'm standing there in shock when he gives me another whack to the face and I fall to the floor. So I'm on my trampoline with this kid I invited over, right? And it is pitch black outside. And I feel something hit me in the face and I look at him and he starts beating me up. Not play fighting like, oh, it's so cute, we're flirting. I mean like beating me up like it's a school fight. He starts picking me up and slamming me on the ground like full force. To the point where I thought my head was bleeding. So he does that like 5 times and I'm kicking him, I'm telling him to stop. I'm like, hey, this really hurts. So then he grabs my throat and starts choking me out to the point where I am struggling to breathe. I'm laying on the trampoline and I'm like, I can't breathe, like what the f are you doing? And he's not stopping. So I'm like, am I going to die on my trampoline?
So at this point, I was getting lightheaded and I genuinely could not breathe. So I ended up punching him in the face so hard that I almost break his nose. And that made him get off of me, thank God. And then I told him to get the hell out of my house and he got picked up and I never saw him again.
This is why Bring Your Pet to School Day is banned from my school. I just want everyone to know that this was bound to happen. The kids at my school are super irresponsible. I don't know why the teachers thought this was a good idea. I was one of those really irresponsible kids and I didn't pay attention to which pets were allowed to be brought to the school. They weren't allowed to stink, they had to be a certain size, and you weren't supposed to bring them on the bus. If you were bringing a pet, you had to be a car rider. Well, I might have broken some of these rules. So I had a pet milk snake. It was about 3 feet in size, and I brought it to school without telling my parents because you had to get a parent signature form. And no, I was not a car rider. I brought it on the bus. I was carrying it in my backpack, and my backpack was all the way zipped up, so there was no way for it to get out. So I got on the bus and then like 5 minutes later, my bus buddy got on the bus. Asked him, did you bring your pet to school? He goes, no, I'm on the bus, aren't I? I was like, okay, I'm on the bus and I brought mine. He tells me we weren't allowed and then he has to see it. When I open my bag to show him, it wasn't there. Then I hear my bus driver scream and she swerves the bus. This is part 2 of why Bring Your Pet to School Day is banned from my school. So like I said, I'm on the bus and I open my bag to show my friend my pet snake. But when I open my bag, it wasn't there. And then I hear the bus driver scream and she swerves the bus. She yells that there's a snake on the bus, which causes panic. Kids start crying. Some try to jump out the bus window. Like, it was literal chaos. The bus driver almost crashed the whole bus. But she was able to steady it out. Nobody knew where this snake was. I honestly just try to act like I didn't know what was going on. Like, what snake? Never heard of her. Is that some type of drink? Anyways, so luckily, I looked across the seat from me. The seat in front of them, under it was the snake. My friend was sitting on the outside of the bus seat, so I told him to grab it. Try to get him to grab it before anybody sees it, but he didn't, so I just launched over there and I grabbed it, put it in my bag, and continued to act like nothing happened. Okay, so I'm running out of time, so I'm going to zoom past a little bit, but I'll come back on the next part. My school lets us carry our backpacks anywhere we want, so I had the snake in my backpack all day. But 2 periods before chemistry, I decided to let it loose so I could skip the class. So this is part 3 of why Bring Your Pet to School Day is banned from my school. Okay, so I'm backtracking a little bit. So after the snake was let loose on the bus, once we got to the school, somebody had to come onto the bus and figure out the situation, what was going on. They asked if anybody brought their pet on the bus. Obviously, I did not give myself up, and they ended up just concluding that a random snake got on the bus. Okay, so back to where I was at. I had a chemistry test that day as well. Like I said, I was very irresponsible, so I did not study for my test, nor did I care for this snake. So I knew the chaos that it would bring to let it loose, so that's what I did. So it could cause chaos, so then I didn't have to take my chemistry test. And half an hour after I let it loose, on the announcements, they tell everybody to stay in their rooms. There is a snake on the loose. Apparently, it was found in a bathroom in a toilet. Somebody sat down on that toilet and had the worst time discovering that snake. Low-key feel bad for them. Once they found it, they put it on the announcements that they found the snake and whoever lost it can come get it. They described it, so I went to go get it. So this is part 3 of why Bring Your Pet to School Day is banned from my school. Okay, so I'm backtracking a little bit. So after the snake was let loose on the bus, once we got to the school, somebody had to come onto the bus and figure out the situation, what was going on. They asked if anybody brought their pet on the bus. Obviously, I did not give myself up, and they ended up just concluding that a random snake got on the bus. Okay, so back to where I was at. I had a chemistry test that day as well. Like I said, I was very irresponsible, so I did not study for my test, nor did I care for this snake. So I knew the chaos that it would bring to let it loose, so that's what I did. So it could cause chaos, so then I didn't have to take my chemistry test. And half an hour after I let it loose, on the announcements, they tell everybody to stay in their rooms. There is a snake on the loose. Apparently, it was found in a bathroom in a toilet. Somebody sat down on that toilet and had the worst time discovering that snake. Low-key feel bad for them. Once they found it, they put it on the announcements that they found the snake and whoever lost it can come get it. They described it, so I went to go get it. Okay, so this is part 4 of why Bring Your Pet to School Day is banned from my school. Like I said, Jesus Christ, I almost died. So like I said, I went down to the office to claim my snake. I obviously got into a lot of trouble for that. They called my parents. My parents came down to the school. So I got suspended. My parents grounded me for months and months and months. I was not allowed to leave my house. I couldn't go out to see my friends. But I was only suspended for like a week. And when I went back to school, everybody knew that it was me who brought that snake to school. And so the person who sat down on the toilet seat and found the snake knew that it was me too. And that person didn't say anything to me, but I did get word that that person was very pissed because that snake went straight up their you know. So after that, they just didn't allow kids to bring their pets to school anymore, which is reasonable. I kind of ruined it for everybody else, but I don't really care because it's not that serious. But people can't just hate on me because there was this other kid who brought a spider and it got loose in class. But they were able to find it really quickly, so it didn't escape the classroom or anything. But I did what I had to do.
So this video is promoted by beautifulhalo.com. So you might be asking, what is Beautiful Halo? I'm glad you asked. So basically their website has lots of different kinds of merch and you can get anything you like there. So I definitely think you should check it out. So they have a lot of different styles like cartoons, animals, K-pop, girly stuff, memes, yeah, and a lot of other stuff. So definitely I'll put the link in the description for you guys.